I am John Myers, Chair of the Commission, and if when I call your name, you just say that you're here, then we'll move forward. Marilyn Kaplan?
Here.
Commissioner Pinckney?
Present.
Commissioner Tobin?
Here.
Okay. Commissioner McEnany?
Here.
And Commissioner Rice and Commissioner Packer. I saw him. Where'd he go? Commissioner Rice and Commissioner Packer. Commissioner Hacker. I saw him.
Hold
Where'd he
on.
go? Oh, Commissioner Rice and Commissioner Packer. Commissioner Hacker.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Hold
Where'd
on.
he go? Oh, Commissioner Rice and Commissioner Packer. Commissioner Hacker.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Hold on.
Oh, Commissioner Rice and Commissioner Packer. Commissioner Hacker.
I'm here.
Hold on.
Okay, thank you.
Hold on.
Oh, Commissioner Rice and Commissioner Hacker.
I'm here.
Hold on.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Commissioner Rice.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Commissioner Rice.
What's happening?
I'm here.
It's a recording that just keeps repeating itself.
That was really weird. That was
Yeah.
bizarre.
Okay,
Okay.
well, we do have a quorum, and if there are members of the public, we will invite comment from the public at the appointed time after we've discussed the applications before us. And we would just ask that anyone from the public offering comments limit their comments to the matter at hand and try to keep their comments to 3 minutes in duration. We have 3 items on the agenda. And we could proceed with the public meeting portion. If the first item or the first application is 179 Elk Street in the Lark Street Historic District, and the application is for replacing non-original divided light vinyl windows with 6 1/1 vinyl sash windows. Is there someone to speak on behalf of the application?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Mr. Norty?
Yes, please.
Okay. If you'd like to, explain your application. You had a rather creative way of marking up photos, so it was.
All right, so I just purchased the building recently, and then when I got in there, the windows were, part of it were broken and other parts were not fitting the right way. So instead of 32 inches wide, it was actually 28. So it was showing the vinyl side. So the intended plan was to correct the broken ones, and whilst changing the broken ones, also take out the grills in there also, so that the windows will be just the windows will be just 1/1. So the plan was right after. So yeah, so on this part, for instance, the crossed out ones is what is existing now, and the proposed one or the plan was to use the checked ones, so the ones that are already checked, which would be the one above the door, and also keeping the original ones, which is the ones in the basement, which are also checked. So the 3 in the basement would be kept and it wouldn't be touched, but would be basically insulated, right, to meet that's efficiency in terms of heat and also keeping the place warm and cool when it's needed. Then if you go to the next screen. So the next screen basically elaborates more on exactly what the window is. So on this window, you can see there are girls in there, and the neighborhood does not show that. The neighborhood characteristics is everybody has one-on-one plain window with no grills. So I was trying to bring back that characteristics of giving it just that one-on-one grill, and also with the vinyl that is showing on that side, the new window is going to be more bigger, so that would hide those vinyl sidings on that side, so they wouldn't even notice it's vinyl until you actually come on the inside or something of that sort. Then the next picture, please.
Give me 1 second.
And these are the original ones. So I was up close to show the original ones, how they look like. And these are the wood ones that I was going to keep and not do anything with them.
So what's the condition of those ones in the basement? Are they in pretty good shape?
Yes, they're in pretty good shape, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good you're keeping them, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're always glad to see that.
that's good. And then the next one. Yeah, so on here, what I was trying to do was I was trying to show before and after. So these were the broken ones on the left-hand side. And then if you come on this, if you come on the other side too, it's the same thing too. So that the broken ones, and also these windows were going to be replaced. But then if you come on the bottom one, that's the right-hand bottom one, above the door, that's how it's going to look like. So that's one of the windows that I was trying to keep efficiency. I replaced one just to see how it's going to look like, if it's going to fit the neighborhood characteristics. So further down, I'll show you how the neighborhood looks like, and then without the grills. If you go to the next picture, please. So this is the window that I was going to exchange it with. So if you see inside there on the left-hand side, the window size on the window size is basically smaller. The one that is in there now is smaller, but the actual size is bigger, which is one of the windows that I have in there, which is going to be the replacement, and also has no grills in there, which would also fit the neighborhood characteristics. And then if you go to the next one. So over here, I took a picture to show one of the houses that basically has the same thing. So if you look at the window above the door, it basically has no grills. And then the window that is also close to the basement one, that's with no grills. And then if you look at that house, the house that is right next to it, the steps over there, you see the neighborhood would show that there are no window grills or anything of that. So if you please go to the next picture. So this is what the neighborhood looks like. So you see there's no grill in the window for these buildings over here. So that is what I was trying to bring out after the project is done, after I change the windows. I believe that should be it for the pictures.
Well, we certainly appreciate the work that you're doing on the building, and certainly saving the original windows at the basement level is certainly to be encouraged, and changing the windows from a non-appropriate 6/6 to a 1/1 certainly makes sense, and fully filling the opening with a new window makes sense. I think where we have some issues is, even though the vinyl windows are a non-original window and you're taking them out, when replacing a window in the historic district, it should be of an appropriate nature in terms of material and configuration. By going to the correct size and going to 1/1, you've certainly met two of the criteria, but the use of vinyl is something that generally is not permitted in the historic district. What's in the building now was done either some time ago or done without a permit. And we have approved clad wood windows. We have approved a fiberglass composite windows for replacement, but we've not approved vinyl per se as a replacement window in a historic building on the street-facing facade. And I invite any of the other commissioners to weigh in or offer their opinion.
Have you already purchased 6 windows, or are there 7 if we count the one over the door?
There are currently 7. Initially, I tried to get a quote for the clade windows, and I believe I reached out to a couple of companies like Anderson. Then they gave a very outrageous quote. And then also, I realized some of the neighbors in the neighborhood also had, vinyl, but then the way they made it, it basically hit into the window that is with the framing and then the storm window. So it didn't even show that it was vinyl until actually you really paid attention to it.
Now, are you going to be living in this house, this building?
Currently no plan to live in yet, but that was what I was thinking about. But estimated plan now is to rent it out.
And it would be 2 units or 3?
It's going to be a 3 units. Currently, we're working on the basement unit, so I had to consult an architect to make a different plan for the basement. So that is where we are to meet code.
Are you replacing the back windows?
The back windows, I was planning to leave them. They're in good shape. Nothing was wrong with them.
What's the material of those?
The material of those looks like the current ones currently.
Wood?
No, it's all
Vinyl?
Yeah, the vinyl.
Yeah, I think it's difficult. It's kind of difficult for us to approve vinyl since vinyl is not a historically appropriate material. And even though it was replaced, like Commissioner John had said, it was probably replaced without a permit. Would it be disastrous to you financially to replace the vinyl windows with aluminum clad windows?
Definitely yes. They were talking about 13 to 14, most of the people that I reached out to.
So is that 13 to 14,000 for those 7 windows? That would be about 2,000 a window?
Yes, something like that.
And what's the cost of the 1/1 vinyls?
1/1, each one was about $450 each.
Did you try other window sources, other wood window or clad wood window manufacturers besides Anderson?
The average that I had for that was $11K, and they wanted to come fix it themselves. And that was the closest.
Would you be planning to install? Otherwise, you would do the work yourself or with your contractors?
Yes, to be doing it with my contractors, yes.
Okay.
Mostly myself too.
Okay.
Is this the block in back of the library?
Yes, it is. Right up at the back of Armory.
And I think there's only one empty building on that block.
Yes, it's the one next to it.
Oh, the one next to it.
Yeah, the
Okay.
blue one.
The red X, yeah.
177 Elk.
I have a family history with the other end of the block on roughly 150 Lark Street. And I'm very concerned about that block, which has a number of buildings that they're very handsome buildings, but they've been let go for a very long time. Some of them have the red X's and the others look like they need it. So I think the neighborhood really needs a shot in the arm. This side of the block is generally in pretty good shape. And I see a number of the neighbors there. I know a couple of them personally. So I'm sure they're very enthusiastic of you going in there and and bringing this up to where it should be. And I think if we look at the big picture of the block, considering what's on the around the corner, it's a very endangered block when you look at the Lark Street side. And I believe the land block, the land bank is involved there too.
I see storm windows on the 6 that are in the projecting bay. Is that accurate? And would you keep the storm windows or would you put new storm windows in?
I was going to keep the storm windows. The reason why I was going to keep it was the storm windows basically covers the vinyl so that you don't actually see the actual vinyl. So that is the reason why I was going to keep the storm windows. So that still we have that characteristics of the neighborhood and everyone's.
The vinyl is white, I take it?
Yes, the vinyl is white, but once the storm window goes in there, it basically extends a little bit beyond the vinyl side. So you actually see the metal vinyl. So that the vinyl sidings basically goes into the wall.
Does the storm window in the basement, do the storm windows hide the wood windows, original wood windows in the basement?
No, the wood windows in the basement does not have a storm window. So those ones,
They don't have a storm window.
or they have a storm window, but yeah, they somewhat hide their, what do you call it, the wood, yes.
Yeah.
So
And they also protect it. They protect the wood too.
Yes, exactly.
And help insulate.
Is there any other work that is going to be on the, that is planned for the exterior?
Especially the front door, what's happening there?
Mm-hmm.
Front door, basically have ordered, basically have been able to, there was the original one, which was really in a bad shape, but I've been able to redevelop it back or refurnish it back to the original state. And now it actually matches everyone's door. Then also the rail also, I basically got the original ones and somebody's also going to replace it, who is basically familiar with historic district stairs when it comes to that.
Marilyn, in your and all the other commissioners, in the packet,
Yep.
in the slides, I've only included the window replacement information, but in the packet, it does include that he will be restoring the original double doors, the stoop, and the railings, and all of those are going to be a staff review, or have been a staff review. So the windows were the only thing that needed to come before the HRC.
Okay.
Okay. And you have all 7 windows now. You purchased them already.
Yes, please.
I'm inclined to, although it's somewhat inappropriate, historically appropriate, and it's not something that we tend to do. I'm more inclined to go with the vinyl windows on the front, provided, like the applicant says, that the storm windows hide the vinyl. That's why I asked him the question whether the storm windows would hide the wood windows. So actually, when you're looking at these openings, you see a storm window, and the inappropriate material would be hidden behind the storm windows. I don't know how. That's the thing that's coming across because he's already purchased, which he shouldn't have done, but he did it, without coming to us first. Purchased the windows, and it would be a hardship for him to sell it back, take it back, get something historically appropriate. So that's what I'm leaning to, moving it.
I agree with you, Lee. I think particularly if the plan is to restore the door, which I know is an expensive effort, but that's going to be very important for the row. And the fact that the storm windows, the aluminum storm windows, really minimize what's behind them. I think this is one that we should make an exception to the rule, considering what's going on with the building.
I agree, because right now there's vinyl in there. When you're talking aluminum clad, it's still a replacement window is a replacement window. So I don't have an issue. And to Commissioner Pinckney's point about the storms, and I think the continuity, you know, there'll be storms on the bottom where the wood is, there'll be storms up above. I think the intent is the right intent here, and I really appreciate the work that's going into restoring this building and bringing more life onto the street. And I think that's the most important thing.
Okay.
I'd add that bit about the door though. Sorry, I had a son asking me a question when you were discussing the door, but I think restoring the door would be important. And maybe there's, I don't know if Historic Albany's Parts Warehouse came up, but maybe there's an appropriate replacement door at Historic Albany that would be, because I know wooden front doors are also insanely expensive.
He actually,
Frankly, vinyl.
yeah, he actually has them and has
Oh,
restored
okay.
them. Yeah, he sent, I will send out the email that you had sent out showing the restoration of the doors. They look really good, so.
In the packet, it's clear that those were the original doors that were found probably in the basement or somewhere on the property, because they still have the 179 numeral on. So no, we certainly appreciate the restoration of the doors, and bringing the double door entry back to life is a huge improvement. Is there, and all the vinyl windows that you've purchased fully fill the openings to their full extent, correct?
Yes, so picture 7 will show the actual window and the boards that basically were on the side compared to the current window.
Okay. So they'll fit further back into the pocket, and as Commissioner Pinckney has said, likely be concealed by the overlap with the storm window. Well, I would entertain a motion from the floor on this application of a replacement of non-original vinyl windows with a
So move.
compatible in configuration replacement window, albeit vinyl.
Make a motion, we approve the new window installation, and hopefully that mainly based on the fact that the storm windows, the new storm windows in the basement and the existing storm windows, I believe, will hide the vinyl.
And that they fully fill the windows as demonstrated in the photos, that they fully fill the opening.
Yep.
And obviously the 1/1 configuration. So, all right, there's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All right, Aaron, do we have anybody, any comments from the audience? I know you forwarded 2 letters to us.
Yes,
Earlier today.
and I believe, give me 1 second. I have Mark Platt signed up to speak. Mark, would you still like to comment on the application?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes, and you have 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, wait, let me just see if that works. Oops. Okay. Very good. All right, full screen. Okay. Can you still hear me?
We can still hear you, yes.
Oh, good, all right. Yes, I just wanted to repeat that I have, I guess there was some confusion about what a one-on-one sash was, but I could see that that's been answered. And, and that the detail on the bay window and the curvatures, that didn't seem to be an issue at all. So, I mean, it all looks good as far as I'm concerned. And, it was one of the, he had shown, applicant shown one of my buildings, 185.
Mhm.
And so, it's all good, So I know the Historic Commission's been at this for a while. I recall, I think it was soon after I had moved into the neighborhood, there was an issue, I think it was once on 160 Lark when it was still owned by a church. And the church wanted to change the configuration of the staircase so that they could have a clear run for coffins, and so they could hold funerals in the basement. And that would have been, even though there was, I think, 2 houses on Lark Street that had done that in the past, that was my first entry to, you can't just do everything you want to do, there's an approval process. So with that, I end my comment, and I thanks for the opportunity.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other?
I believe, give me 1 second. Okay, and then we have Olena Lake. Do you give me? Come on.
Yes.
Sorry. Would you like to speak?
Yes.
Okay. You have 3 minutes.
Okay. I'm practically the one who
I can't hear.
We can't. I'm sorry. Can you speak up? We can't.
Do you hear me?
Go ahead.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Do you hear me?
Yes. We can hear you.
I'm the one. I have a lot of echo.
Are you, Miss Lake, are you listening through your computer as well as your phone?
I was trying, yes.
Right. Can you turn off your computer audio?
Oh, jeez.
No, what is happening? Alina, are you there?
Yes.
We're having, there's issues. We're having a lot of feedback from your call. Could you either, if you're on your computer, could you turn off your phone, or if vice versa, could you turn off your computer audio?
Do you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Is it better?
Yes, much better.
Sorry, I was sorry. I sent some information to you, to Historic Resource Commission, and to Department Planning and Development. Have you received my information?
Yes, it was circulated this afternoon.
Okay. So I'm practically the one who caught Mr. Norty on doing something inappropriate. So it started with my fence. I tried call to building department to find out if there was a building permit issued for replacement of the fence because there was a damage of the fence. Finally, we get into the inspection of this fence, and I invited inspector to my building and to show the fence. During this inspection, I showed what is going on with this building, with rail, with doors, and with everything else. So at that point, they start doing something, trying to stop Mr. Norty from his development without permits. So initially, he started doing everything without permits. Even though we spoke with him before, and I say that it is very restricted, and everything needs to be under control, and he needs to work with building department, and it is very, very strict. So I'm surprised what is going on now towards him and what was going on towards me when I was doing the same things. It is absolutely different. And it took me 2 years to prove and to get the permit to replace the windows, the non-historic windows for other non-historic windows. But it took me 2 years. I went through multiple evaluations, etc., etc. So there was multiple hearings at that time, and it practically crushed the project. I was having construction mortgage at that time, and it was very detrimental for me. With this replacement, which is going on now, I sent the pictures. The window, the right window on the right was, from my understanding, it was replaced improperly. It was visibly cover not much, not the whole space of the window. So the window is much shorter than the initial one. So, and the replacement is going kind of with not
Ms. Lake,
licensed contractors. This is my worries because my building is the next door. That one on the, with red cross. That is my building. This is my pain, and it cost me already $250 with all the losses which I incur because of city, because of that fence damage. So I am kind of surprised that now we have green light to the person who just came and started doing without any consulting. I started my reconstruction right with proper.
Olena, your 3 minutes are up. If you want to
yes, I would
wrap
like
up your comments within the next couple of seconds.
Yes. So I have objection to his reconstruction without proper contractors. He needs to have somebody licensed, or he needs to have the insurance of the building. And the window which was on the right was replaced not improperly. If he will do it the same, so I request to much tougher control over this building and over his actions, and to save our neighborhood.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. I think, I mean, the applicant is now, you know, by virtue of this process, is going through the proper channels. And Aaron, you will be working with him on other elements of the project, and we will keep a close eye on the performance of the project.
Yes.
Again, I will call the motion to a vote as it was stated. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And Anyone, all those opposed, please indicate so.
Opposed. This is Marilyn.
Okay. So we,
I'm sorry. Hold on. Chris, are you also, was that also in opposition?
Yes.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. That fails.
yeah. 4 affirmative and 2 opposed.
So you,
The motion to approve the installation of the vinyl windows is denied at this point. And Aaron, do you want to discuss with the applicant, the ramifications of that?
yes. I will follow up, Mr. Nardi, I will follow up with you. And we can discuss either revising your submission or going forward with financial hardship application.
Definitely, that works.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, well, thank you for your patience in this process. And we will move on to the next item on the agenda. If we are finished with 179 Elk, that is 105 South Lake Avenue in the South Lake Avenue Historic District. And this is a application for the replacement of a front stoop with alternative construction. And is there someone to speak to the this matter?
Joe, are you still on? Hold on. Oh, his give him 1 second, his audio is connecting.
Okay.
Hold on. Joe, you're still muted.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Oh, we can hear you now. Yes.
Okay. Yep.
I would prefer to use my phone just because I got 2 little girls that are about to have bedtime. Can I try my phone real quick?
Yeah.
Oh, we can hear you. Yep, that's fine.
That was my computer audio. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Turns out I'm getting feedback on my phone, so I'll just do it on the computer. Sorry, guys. Everyone can still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll just hang up on my phone here. All right, so Joseph Matzner, my wife Sarah and I own 105 South Lake. We bought it in 2015, as you see it currently, basically. It was originally an office. It was a psychologist's office, both home and office. The downstairs was completely offices. Upstairs was a kitchenette, as well as his home office and a living room, I guess you can say. And through, City of Albany, building permits, et cetera, we did a full rehab on the inside of the house. At the time, the stairs were in pretty good condition, but once we start scrolling, you'll start to see some of the deterioration that we've experienced. A lot of the rebar is showing, stone is crumbling, cement itself is falling apart. There's cracks in the pad throughout, and with 2 children under the age of 5, as well as a dog in excess of 100 pounds, I just kind of fear that our safety is kind of in danger, as well as the mailman or anybody else who tries to come up our staircase. Additionally, this is not, from what I can tell, and when speaking with Erin at length a little bit, we can both pretty much tell this is not the original front porch. I don't have original plans. I don't know who put this up originally, but it was not really built very well, nor was it maintained prior to us purchasing the house. The slabs actually that you're looking at in this picture right now, the one on the left actually fell over this weekend during the storm. So that's one more part of deterioration that's happened since just a few weeks ago. So the plan is looking around the neighborhood. You know, there's a lot of old Victorian houses with beautiful wraparound porches, all pressure treated wood. As you'll see by the pictures, they all have enclosed porches. For this specific project we're working on, I did not think that was necessary, nor did I really want to change the facade of the house. I really just want to kind of go what's in line with the neighborhood as far as these wooden pressure treated porches. You know, I would love to expand the footprint. I think my plans are up to about 22 or 23 feet in width. And as you can see by most of the photos, they're all wraparound porches, which we would not be doing. We would just, again, be demolishing, replacing the existing one and putting a new one to the front. This is not necessarily to scale as far as position of the door, but it just gives you a general idea of what we would be doing. Again, all pressure treated wood, both spindles, beams, deck, everything.
Was there ever a porch on your facade of this magnitude?
Was there? I couldn't tell you. Nobody's familiar with what the original one was. And if you look around the neighborhood, they're all pretty significant in size.
Aaron,
So,
if you go back to the first, the photo, and I stopped by this afternoon and took a photograph. I would suspect that it had a small porch recessed in that front corner where the infill currently creates that the front entry door and vestibule. And there probably was a little covered entry area there,
Yeah.
which is fairly typical. But and it's a charming house. I mean, you've really done a nice job on it.
Thank you.
And John, to go off of that, you can tell, and when Joe and I had a discussion, you can tell on that north elevation where it's paled in, you can see where the stucco continues and most likely like a porch knee wall.
Mm-hmm.
I also pulled
well, the Sanborn map seems
maps
that as well.
off kind of show that that area that's now enclosed was most likely the original entry porch.
Yeah. So I think, in keeping with the style of the building, to the other porches that you did cite certainly are classic examples of wraparound porches, but they were part of the original design of the building and are integrated with the roof and with the other massing of the building. Yours is a different case. It's a little more modest building. It doesn't have one of those wraparound porches or even a remnants of a porch across the front of the building. The enlarged deck is something that is probably more appropriate at the back of the building than it is at the front. I understand your desire for a little more living space. And I let other commissioners speak, but I think the wood treatment is certainly something that could be accommodated, but keeping it.
Not to interrupt you, but I'm not opposed to keeping it within the current footprint. It was just a thought that we had that it would be nice to have it, just based on surrounding houses and size.
Yeah.
It's just kind of icing on the cake, but we're not opposed to keeping it in the same footprint.
I think matching close to the footprint of what you've got now is a projection, probably certainly preferable, but I'll let other commissioners speak.
Sure.
Yeah,
this is you can go.
Marilyn, if that was you, I'll let you go.
Okay. Aaron, I'm looking at the PDF you sent, but the photo, if you can get to, it looks like it's number 23, that has the stone that shows the stone underneath the, what looks like a parge coat.
Yes.
Mhm.
Hold on, give me 1 second.
Yeah, sorry, everybody, I'm on a different.
Go ahead. We're at it's up.
Okay, I was so surprised to see that photo because that looks like a pretty substantial stone base that then I guess was parged over, had its own water issues. So that was kind of interesting to me. I wanted to ask about that. I mean, that's pretty substantial stonework, unless John, you saw today? Does it
Yeah,
look like
I
it's got some age in and of itself, or what's really going on there?
Well, it looks like it had a fairly heavy parge coating on that original, what appears to be, could have been an original stoop. Some of the stonework looks a little like the stone foundation to the left of it. But it was probably parged when the precast unitized steps were installed to kind of unify the appearance of the whole thing. And you did have a note from a mason that looked at it and judged that it was not repairable. And I would agree with the unitized steps. Those are kind of a lost cause with the reinforcing, corroding, and blowing the concrete apart. It would be interesting, though, to peel the parge coat off this stone base and see if it is stable and if it is something that is restorable. If it could be, repointed and made stable again. They often do get displaced with freeze-thaw cycles, so it's not certainly not a sure thing.
Yeah, I don't think we would know until we start peeling away. And then keep in mind, I've got 2 little children that run up and down every day. Those steps, so it just a safety concern is prevalent for us as well, which is why we're, really looking at the pressure treated wood as a replacement.
So my first comment was wanting to have a little more information about the date of and potentially the stability of this, what I thought was a stone foundation adjacent, a stone base for a porch that sure seemed like it might be contiguous to the foundation. So that was question number 1. And I would think that it wouldn't be a tremendous amount of effort because you can see through the photographs this stuff's peeling off on its own. In fact, as you just said, perhaps more has come off even. But you could have a stable stone base under there. And what we're seeing is anywhere there's cracks, water got in and it kicked off the parge coat, but the stone base itself might be in pretty good shape. So that was my first comment. And the other I wanted to make is, and I think it's semantics, you keep using the word pressure treated wood, and the porches that you showed us are probably not pressure treated wood. So pressure treated wood is a relatively modern material. Mostly you see it, if you can go, Aaron, to the AXO drawing with the porch, maybe 13 of 36. So that,
go ahead.
It shows, the proposed source. So to me, that's pressure treated lumber. It's like 2x4s, it's 4x4s, it's pine, it's been treated, but it's not a traditional material. Even more so, it's not traditionally, you don't have a lot of choices in terms of the moldings and the sizes of the members that you get. So I believe, as the chair said before, this feels a little more as it would be appropriate on a rear deck or something like that. But in fact, the photos that you showed us of the of surrounding properties, those are not, for the most part, modern pressure treated wood. Or if they are, I'm not there to look at them, but if they are, they're pretty carefully detailed in terms of how the railings and the balusters and how they intersect different members. So I think we want to be careful about the terminology that we use. And maybe, John, if you saw, or Aaron, if you know of the adjacent photos that we saw, I don't know that those clearly photo 27 of 36, those are modern spindles, and it is a modern skirting below the, well, I would guess it's a modern skirting, I'm not certain. But the other photos, I can't really tell, but they certainly have more detail and appear to have a little bit more refinement than what we would typically see with just a pressure-treated deck and railing, as I think is shown in the photo 13.
And they're typically painted.
Yes.
Yes. So I was gonna, Marilyn, I was gonna make the same point you did about the stone under the parging there. Aaron, can you go back to that photo with that, yeah. You had it a second, yeah. Because I think that, and I think to Marilyn's point, you could uncover that. I mean, you're gonna have, if you were to do what you wanted, you would have to demolish that anyway. So I would say doing a little excavation work on that parging part. I don't think, you know, if you reused that, and it really does look like it's a stoop, and if you go back to the photo John took today, the first one. Yeah, so I'm pointing like you guys could see me, but it really does look like it's the stoop to the porch that then was enclosed, you know, where the front door is. So I don't know. I don't know what.
It could be a much less expensive repair, because
Yeah.
if that's stone, there's a lot of stone and rubble in there. So it could be a much more, cost-efficient way to go about it.
Yes, and I mean, certainly replacing the steps would have to happen, but
Could you explain how it could be more cost effective? Because I'm going to have someone come out and then kind of intricately remove certain areas of it, because some are more deteriorated than others. For example, on the south side, that's falling apart, whereas on the north side, it's not. So they'd have to kind of piecemeal it apart to determine the full consistency of what's underneath, rather than, you know, if they just come in, you know, if they have, say, a cost and a time for, you know, just demolish for a day, that's one specific cost. Whereas if we come in and start kind of piecemealing it, I'm potentially going to have additional labor. You know, I don't know what I'm looking at. So from a budget standpoint, I don't know what I would do.
well, it would take off, you take off what was, I mean, just like, you know, you have a stucco house, so it's that same sort of, you know, you would take off what you would need, and I defer to the architects, but, you know, we're talking about repairing what you have, and so yes, it would maybe more time than the demolition, but you also have to think about what you'd be saving in the construction of a new wood deck. And in terms of quality, you're going to get something much better in keeping what you have. I'm curious about what's underneath, because you can tell they, you know, if those were the original stairs, then if you took the top off, I'm just kind of fascinated by what they did when they reconfigured that whole porch thing.
I guess I have more questions about the stairs themselves then, because that reinforced concrete is completely crumbled. The rebar's gone. And then Aaron, I'm not sure which picture number it is, but the pad at the bottom of the stairs is completely cracked through as well. So I understand that we're really curious, and I am curious as well, but I'm also conscious of my checkbook and the amount of time it's going to take to kind of look through everything and then determine how to replace it. So you can see the pad is cracking on what would be your left side. or I believe on the right side. And then as you walk up the steps, you can see as from lower, from lowest to top step, you can see they're all starting to deteriorate more and more and more. So what would we do from a step replacement? What would we do from a pad replacement? I'm having a hard time understanding how
Well,
I would
I don't think personally, I'm not suggesting that your steps are historic or that you would need to, I think there need, but I'm saying, and I understand having a cracked cement pad. Certainly it's clear there's damage to those steps. But I think at least what I'm saying is it seems as though you can probably repair, not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, you can replace the steps and repair your walkway and make repairs to your existing deck. That might be something to consider. That's what I'm suggesting has something to consider. It looks like there's some poor parging on the part and as John said, it looks like Commissioner Meyer said, it looks like there's like water got in. So you can see the slab that they poured on top.
Yeah.
And so it's clear what's happening, but those are pretty solid stones you have, and I think.
I'd like to call this portion of a demolition kind of discovery. Even with a little more discovery, you might find more material that you can work with. Is it worth it to put in that little extra effort versus small backhoe, just goodbye?
Yeah, I'm with you, Chris. I truly am. And honestly, everybody, I am very curious what's under there. And if I could use it, I would try to figure out a way, but I don't know how. I've had 2 contractors come out and both tell me that this needs to go, which is, obviously frustrating. And I apologize for continuing to use the same terminology, pressure treated wood, but while we're still on it, it seems to be the path of least resistance and what I thought would be closest to what's in the neighborhood. So that's why I had brought up that term. But again, yeah. I'm not recommending or pushing anything specifically. I'm more, I guess, open to your suggestions of what would be an acceptable replacement from a wood standpoint. I'm having an extremely hard time envisioning how I would, if I were to start this project and it turns into a monster, how I'm going to be able to afford getting it back to where I can utilize my house with my 2 children and everyone who utilizes the house. So it's just, I'm in a catch-22 essentially.
I think that this is Marilyn. I think there's separate components here. And so one is the size of the proposed, we'll call it the deck area. And I think you've already said that it was fine for you to return to what's the existing rather than what was shown. So that's number one. Number 2 is the supports for the whole porch structure itself. And I actually think that's not that hard to resolve. It's as Chris just spoke to. I think that a contractor, in particular a mason, could pull off the parging around around the sides and just see what's there. And I think if we found out that that was in terrible condition, we would probably shift direction. But we're in the business of saving historic material, and if it's savable and sound, why not? So I think that's not a huge effort to pull off as much of that parging as reasonably possible, a reasonable effort, and enough to give us a sense of what the condition of the stone underneath is. Then there are 2 separate items. One, of course, is the replacement stairs themselves, and the other that we haven't really yet talked about are the railings, and those aren't original to the building, of course. So I think if we can kind of break it down into those separate pieces, it might help us move forward. But I'd really like to see that parging come off to know what it is we're working with, what are the components that are salvageable, and then to work from there.
And it looks like in this picture, the top of, the floor is on the same plane. The vertical plane of the floor is on the same plane as the stones underneath. So it seems pretty obvious how the parging failed, because it looks in this picture like it was just slapped up there, and you can see this sort of sloppy patch job. Sorry, but like you can tell why it's failing. Yeah.
What's the condition of the deck?
The top of the
Yeah, the concrete
starting to
floor.
crack on the perimeters. It's starting to crack on the perimeters. Obviously, you can't see me pointing, but if you look at the picture, which would be on your right on the current screen, to the back left corner, which would be the south side of the porch, to the back with the railing, you can see it's kind of got some patchwork on it. That's starting to deteriorate again.
Okay.
And then otherwise, I would say that slab is fairly solid. I guess I can go take a look real quick if you just bear with me. Get you out of the crying as well.
And I wonder if that crack in that back, you can see that's more of the patching, and again, the parging is kind of is coming out from the plane of the. I wonder if taking that off would be.
So yeah, if you look here, I don't know if you can see this. So we've started to crack over here in the side. Are you guys able to see that?
Yeah.
So that started to crack already.
Mhm.
And again, we don't really utilize the porch that much because of the safety of the steps and the falling stone around it. Again, this was how it was when we purchased it, so. I guess I'm outside. Is there anything else anybody wants to see?
Yeah.
Nah.
Now, the crack that you pointed out appears to be the corrosion of the railing post that splits, and you get radial cracks around that railing post where it corrodes and expands and blows the concrete.
So I also mentioned earlier, like the north side of the slab we've been discussing is in much better shape. So there's no crack. Oh, there's one crack down here, which I'll try to show as best I can. Is it visible at all?
Yeah, let's see.
So that's the only issue on this side, whereas the other side is the one that's really deteriorating. So again, my concern is we'd have to take down the one side to determine what the condition of the entire stoop would be. Is that what we're saying?
No, taking down the parging, not the stone. The deck would stay in place, if I'm understanding what the other commissioners are saying, and you're taking down the parging.
Well,
so you're actually just removing the pieces that are already falling off. The stone is not the issue. It's the stucco, the parging that's on top.
No, I understand that. Yeah, that's only basically deteriorated on the one side, which would be the south side. So it kind of stops here, and then as you move to the south is where it tends to get worse. I don't know if there's anything else I can show you while I'm out here.
This is one of the advantages of a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, I guess. Get away from the screaming children as well.
Get to visit the site.
Yeah.
And I guess I'd suggest if you do this, oh gosh, I hope I'm representing what qualifies accurately, but because it's a porch and it's attached to the house, if you are restoring the stoop that you have, and it follows the preservation standards, and if it's at least $5,000, you could apply for a historic homeowner tax credit towards it. So you could get 20% back. You're not going to get that from the pressure treated that you see that you're doing. You talked to Shippo about this, Erin?
This is in the South Lake Historic District, and it's only a locally designated district, and it has not been certified yet, so it does not qualify for tax credits, unfortunately.
Which Erin and I had discussed as well.
So we've been currently trying, when COVID started, we were in the process of hiring somebody to work on it, but COVID kind of threw a little bit of a kink in the plan. But yeah, as of right now, it's not a certified district, so it does not qualify for tax credits.
Okay. Maybe we can talk more offline about trying to get that, about working with SHPO on that. And
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that there would be any issue with us being able to go through the process of getting it certified. I mean, it, based on the, on what's present in the district, I think it shouldn't be that big of an issue. It's just getting the paperwork done and getting it in.
Okay. Because that could be helpful in terms of addressing concerns. I don't know what they, I mean, I would think they would allow. I mean, if you were really restoring it, you'd open the porch back up and put the stoop back. But
yeah, I mean, there's always a process, and I think Joe and I kind of briefly talked about this of like reaching out to SHPO and possibly getting a determination of eligibility and whether or not that would help him qualify for the tax credits. So
yeah, it would be nice if they could do that, given well, we can talk more about that.
If you saw me get up and move in and out here, it's not for bathroom breaks or to get a cup of coffee. I went out and got the 1895 city directory. It's the advantage of Zoom, and found the building there with the McIntosh family there. Apparently not a large family. Saw it again in the ancestry when there was again a mother, a grown son, and a servant. And I looked at the neighborhood when Judge Hamilton lived across the street and the Bender family. This was a very prestigious block. And the idea of taking this Victorian building, which you've done a wonderful job on it, by the way, through the whole front of it is just so attractive, and it blends beautifully with what was intended with that block. The proposal that we saw seemed to put a deck in front of it instead of a porch. And that's the last thing I think we'd ever want to see in a Victorian neighborhood that was built at the end of the 19th century. Whether we're going to call it a stoop or a short porch there or whatever, I think it was at one time was significant. I look at the architecture of the building, which you've basically maintained for most of it. It's highly significant. The neighborhood that it's in is highly significant. I'm surprised that we don't have it as a, with the full blending of National Register as a district, and I think we need to correct that. But if we ever wound up, for the sake of convenience and for safety, to wind up with a de facto deck instead of a porch or a stoop, I think would really do a great discredit to the entire block as well as to the building itself. I think the parging is somewhat irrelevant. It's not based in the structure of the building. They just covered up the stone. I think a certain amount of research is necessary to find out what was originally there. And I suspect that not building a deck, but putting some kind of a porch or an enlarged stoop would really enhance the value of the building and enhance the value of the block that it's on. So,
Jack, if I may interrupt just for 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm with you, not 100%. I just would ask if either you or another one of the committee members could define what you would see as a porch. In my mind, that's a porch, right? And I apologize if I'm ignorant in that regards.
Except it's a small area, so it would be, I don't know whether I'd call it one or the other, whether it's a stoop with an enlarged generous porch at the top of it or not is irrelevant as to how it's called. But I think that brick foundation, which looks like the original, not brick, but the stone foundation, tells us that there was something there and it had stairs going up to it. what it looked like and what you called it, I think is irrelevant. I think we could recreate that feeling,
Okay.
but we don't want to go and cheapen the house by putting in a suburban style, treated wood deck. A deck is not a porch, and a deck is also not a stoop in a Victorian sense.
Sorry.
Have you gotten Mason sorry, my dog is barking. Have you gotten Mason recommendations from Historic Albany Foundation?
Say that again. I'm sorry. Masonry what?
I know you talked to Masons. Have you gotten any recommendations from Historic Albany Foundation?
No.
I'm just thinking of, trying to help connect you with somebody who can help solve this in a faster and easier way for you, instead of somebody coming in and saying it just has to all come down.
I think my biggest concern right now is I need to do something before winter, right? Because those steps are, again, not just a danger to me and my family, but to, say, the postal service trying to deliver a package in the mail, a friend or a babysitter coming over. God forbid somebody hurts themselves on that. We're not concerned about the amount of money we might be talking about on this call. So, path of least resistance at this point is what I'm looking to do. And obviously, I'm Albany born, Albany raised. I was outside of 3 years. I've been here my whole life. I only want what's best for the city of Albany, especially the street, having grown up on South Manning and then having lived on South Lake previously down the street and now here for five years. I need to be cost conscious, but at the same time, I want to do what's right. But I also have a time frame that I have to do for the sake of my children and those utilizing the house. So I guess I leave it to the Historic Commission to help me figure that out. I'm not sure.
So it seems to me that the stair question is finding somebody to replace your stairs and investigating the deck or the stoop. Investigating your current porch stoop situation. Separately. So
I guess what's a feasible time frame for that right now, right? Because essentially, if you go anywhere or you call anybody due to COVID, we're talking quite a bit of time to get someone out here. Which again is why I propose the wood.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for Chris Hacker. Chris, would it be possible, given the condition of the stoop, the stairs themselves, any thought for a winter solution, if this wasn't able to be fully resolved in advance, to get some pressure treated, oddly, 2x and bolt those down to the existing stone, so at least it's a nice solid surface for the winter? I mean, that's not a very complicated task if this needs a little bit more time and the concerns as you just raised of getting folks there. So Chris, any thoughts on that?
I think when we're looking at that top flat surface, unknowing exactly what to call it, is that flat, level, stable? Can we treat that independently of the precast concrete stairs, which look like they're really in need of repair?
Yes.
So could you take down the concrete steps, create even a set of temporary steps, be it pressure treated, until you had that opportunity to get a greater understanding of what's beneath that slab of concrete that appears to be level, flat, and not moving anywhere easily anytime soon? My thought. I'm sorry. I don't know if I answered your question, Marilyn, but.
Well, I think I was saying, could we just get some 2x12s and get them on those treads, get them bolted down, set in epoxy? I would think that a contractor of any sort could do that in a short period of time as, if needed, a temporary solution. Yes. You went in a different direction, kind of similar, which was just get rid of it and build a temporary set a stoop so that so that it's safe for the winter until there's enough time to really resolve what we need to do. It's a little hard. I almost feel that if we understood the situation of this stone foundation that we're talking about of this area, I almost wonder if that wood stair that we just talked about could be done in a way that wasn't temporary but was long-term. But then again, we've got our railings and we've got a bunch of stuff. So don't know, without really being on site and figuring it all out and understanding that it's hard to know. But I would imagine that there are some temporary solutions that are not horribly costly, because they're pretty basic materials that you'd be using that could address the safety
Is
issues,
there a
which are real.
possibility that we don't have a porch problem structurally? We have a staircase problem, and that while the research is done and a final decision was come to by the homeowners to what would look appropriate, are we basically, in terms of safety and the two little kids and the people who are coming in and out, is the real problem is just the stairs, period, and a temporary solution to the stairs and getting rid of all the rebar that's showing up with the old cement? That could all go and then replaced by a safe staircase?
When you say that, Jack, are you thinking that the safe staircase is temporary or it is the permanent one?
Well, it could be either the temporary one, or it might be incorporated into what the final solution is, depending on what the design is.
Because my concern about promising that you could do something temporary that also worked long-term is that until you really understand the configuration and the heights and the repairs needed and the elevations, you wouldn't know what elevation you were building your stair to.
Well, if you left the porch where it is and maybe removed all the parging around it so that you could look at the historic stone, find out what the condition of it is, and secure it. And since it's apparently safe on top, could you put in a temporary wooden stair up to the level that you currently have where the porch is? It would be certainly cheaper than surrounding it with a wooden railing that may not be appropriate to the building.
Right. So that was what Chris was suggesting as well.
That's kind of what my approach would be to this project.
Yeah.
Right. And we've seen wooden replacements of masonry, when because there was probably, I would guess, I'm just totally guessing, but that there was never a stair where those stairs are. So there's not really a historic precedent, but it's just kind of what's appropriate.
We had a great idea until we discovered all that stone there that was obviously put in a place that it was designed to be in.
We're confident that this stone is historic.
My guess is yes. Looks like 1890s, 1880s maybe. Do you have the date of the building, Joe?
I don't know. I think Aaron and I had tried to figure that out and we couldn't determine it.
It's present on the 1892 Sanborn map.
For the sake of this call, I'm going to do this for the first time, but this is just literally coming out. So it is completely determined. And as you can see, it's just old, yucky mortar inside.
Can you lower the computer, Joe, just a little bit?
This any better?
Yes.
So this is just literally exposed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one side. And then you can see it crumbling on the inside. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't have tons of money to play with.
Is that stone a block or is it just a veneer?
This is this stone that's settled right here. I can literally just pull it out right now.
Wow.
Would it help if some of the commissioners went to look at this?
Yes.
And
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
well, sometimes we go to sites when we don't have all the information. Sometimes we go to the site. So the question I just raised was, would it be helpful if some of the commissioners went to the site just to see firsthand and then report back what you're describing?
I think it would be. It would help me a lot because there's too many things going on. And the first thing that comes to my mind, keep the deck, do something with restoring the stone foundation and replace the non-historic concrete steps with appropriate wood steps that you would see in the neighborhood. Nothing pressure treated, something that would probably be painted. But there's a lot of things going on. And Marilyn's idea of making a site inspection as soon as possible and putting all our heads together on site is an appropriate solution.
Can it be done with a mason of your familiarity? Do you have a mason you can recommend that you can come with us? Or even two? Like I can have someone, you can have someone, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of
I can send you, Historic Albany Foundation has a list. You can either reach out to Kara Macri, or if she's okay with it, I can send you the list. But unfortunately, we as city employees and representatives of the city of Albany cannot make an official recommendation.
But there is a source. That Kara.
There is a source.
That historical. Yeah.
I would recommend, Joe, if you are open to having commissioners come to the house to do a site visit, Lee and Marilyn, I would recommend that it would be the same kind of setup as what we did for 25 Delaware, where those who can go and look at the site do that, but
not as a group.
Not as a group.
All right.
Can we go, what's the limit of how many commissioners can be in one place at one time?
4. So I mean, we could set something up, but I'm just, I think it would depend on how people are feeling with meeting in groups. So
I'm happy to swing by there on Saturday if you want. And if you're available, Joe, I'd be glad to meet with you there and we can take a look at it and pull some stones out and see what the nature of the masonry that's underneath that really is.
I'll join you, John.
Okay.
I can come by Friday morning, if that's okay with the applicant.
it just depends on the time. I work in Saratoga.
What time would you be there?
I leave the house generally around 8:15 in the morning, so anytime before that.
Or would you be okay if he came by himself and just looked?
Derek can be here. My wife should be here as well.
Well, I can just look and take some pictures and make my own mental notes and get back to the group next week or whenever.
Yep.
I don't want to interrupt your wife's daily thing and stuff like that. It's just on the outside. I don't have to go inside.
Okay, I guess my one concern, and again, please nobody take this personally, and it sounds like it's been brought up multiple times, but that a mason should be involved in some way. Is anyone an expert in masonry or anything of this nature? Because I sure am not. So I just want to make sure that this fact-finding mission is just worth everyone's time as well.
Joe, that's part of the discovery. It can go both ways. We dig a little bit deeper and find something else. we got to find a whole new approach, and we stop talking about stones.
Okay.
This is a step in that forward motion, that, you know, that direction to help you make the best decisions on how to approach this.
Okay.
And I think if you
And
have
Joe, if
Commissioner-
it
I was just going to say,
yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, if you have Commissioner Myers and Commissioner Hacker and Commissioner Pinckney and perhaps Commissioner Kaplan, speaking for myself, not to say that we don't have more technical expertise, but you're going to be in really good hands, technically speaking, in terms of what that masonry might need. Not that they'd be offering their professional services, but you know, as somebody who is not an architect or, you know, if I were you, I would feel comfortable with that.
Okay. I guess my other concerns.
So what you'll have, Joe, is you'll have 2 to 3 historic architects and 1 contractor who works on historic buildings. That's, I think what Aaron was just saying is that's a pretty good perspective.
Okay. Based on what you just said, then maybe you guys can put my mind at ease. But essentially, if we're going to be, and let's see if I got any of this very long session, potentially have to demolish and replace just the steps, which would be one project in itself. I'd probably have to pull a permit, City of Albany, or no?
Yes. So.
And then, but before you address that, secondly, once we do determine what to do on the porch or stoop, whatever we want to call it, if that needs to be rebuilt, I'd be looking at an additional permit as well, correct?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at 2 separate projects. And it sounds like this also isn't, at the moment, applicable for the 20% tax credit. So my budget of around $8,000, which these days is not easy to come by, I'm looking at even more. And then that just pushes me back to time and safety. And keep in mind, I have my time and my family's time as well. So I'm just expressing my feelings. So I hope nobody takes it the wrong way, but I just want to address that.
No, we certainly understand. And I think that's why we'd like to, you know, do this preliminary investigation as quickly as possible, so that the rest of the commission understands what the existing conditions are, what the possibilities are, and discuss it with you on site.
And Joe, just, I mean, if it does come down that you only have to repair, you know, the stoop, the masonry stoop, that, you know, the historic masonry stoop, that is something that may not have to come back before the historic commission. So if it is determined that, you know, I'll provide you with a list from Historic Albany Foundation, and you do have a mason that comes out who can repair it, it's within your budget. It's something that most likely will just come to me, rather than having to come back before the whole entire commission. If it's just going to be repair, stabilization and repair work, you know, and if the commission can get out fairly quickly, you know, unfortunately you can't come back in August, but we could get you back at the very beginning of September. So if all that works and then get you through the approval process, you should be able to get something prior to, you know, the winter.
Okay, so at this point in time, we wouldn't be looking at anything being approved until early September, to which I'd still have to pull permits.
Well, this is still an open discussion, so
Sure.
no motion has been made as of yet.
I'm pretty confident where it's going to go.
Yeah.
But essentially, now we're, okay, I'll keep my frustrations.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone. All right, I guess, John, I can see you on Saturday. I guess, is my cell phone included? You can call me with Chris and you guys can make a time. And then Lee, my wife, would be happy to meet you outside, or you're welcome to come poke around as pleased.
Yeah, I'll come by Friday morning, probably around 10.
Okay. If you do come, I just ask you don't ring the doorbell.
Huh?
Just don't ring the doorbell. Not that you plan to, but please don't ring the doorbell.
No. I'm not gonna even come inside, man. I'm gonna do a little walk around the neighborhood, see what other examples similar to yours are available. And if not, I have a pretty good idea of what I'm gonna say anyway. But I do want to go by and check it out. So,
which is underneath. Sorry, my wife and I are discussing.
Next door is not historic. next door.
107 is not considered historic.
And it's the only other house with a porch with masonry like ours.
Well, the other house would be Evans, which would be 115 South Lake, but he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. So my wife and I were just discussing that 107, who's our neighbor, is not considered historic. And then 115, which sold, I think, for like $680,000. Evan was the original builder.
What do you mean he's not considered historic?
Their understanding is that their house nor stoop are considered historic, and it's almost exactly fitting into ours.
That had the porch removed, right?
If you go back to the original photo that John took earlier today, you can see their stoop in the distance.
No, the neighbor on the south side.
Yes.
That's the neighbor on the south side. Yep.
Yeah, that originally used to have a porch, I think.
I guess I'd be
1 second.
Jack's pictures somehow, if possible, of the original front porch here as well. But
It looks like it has at one point a small porch. And I do believe that property is eligible as of the CRIS system, which is monitored by is under the State Historic Preservation Office.
Yeah. It's just as historic as yours is.
okay, I regurgitated the boss.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'd just like to say, I hear your frustration, and personally, I really want to find a way to make this as fast and smooth for you as possible. But I would not approve the deck as presented. So, in trying to find a way to get there while also respecting, what's there, but it's also about cost and, expediting the project, which can sometimes actually be the way it goes when you're able to reuse what you have. So
my concern is just the potential spike in COVID with going back to school come September, when the next meeting would be, which should not be a non-factor, or should be a non-factor, but
we've been meeting straight through since, haven't we? Met
Yes.
straight since March? Yeah.
Yeah.
no, my concern is not the actual meeting itself taking place. It's
Getting a contractor.
potential quarantine should be taking place.
I make a motion that we table the project until commissioners have had a chance to actually go on site and assess the situation.
Can is it possible to add to that, or somehow, because hearing the concern about speed and making sure that when the applicant comes back to the commission, there's a project for us to review. Aaron, will you work with him in the, after, how does, if the commissioners go and find things, can you then work with him on trying to get something that might be approvable to us in September?
Yes.
Because I do feel bad that you went down this road of something that is not approvable, but if we can work with you to get you to that point, so that, yeah.
Yep. No, I appreciate that. Again, I'm looking at this point to all of your expertise in getting this to where it needs to be. Again, it's just, there's so many factors out there at the moment that make it difficult.
And I would ask that for those of you who do go out and do a site visit, if you could have comments to me by Wednesday, next Wednesday.
Yep.
Okay.
Day the August 12th, so that I can then, I mean, if earlier, that would be appreciated, but at least so that I can share them with Joe, and we can start moving this forward for them.
Yeah, I'll make sure to have my comments to all the commissioners. I think we should all share all the information that we have.
Well, we can do what we did with 25 Delaware, and I will compile everything and then share it.
Yeah.
If that works. That way it's in one document.
Yeah.
Yep. Sounds good.
That's fine. Joe, what time on Saturday works for you?
You guys tell me.
I can share, Joe, if it's okay, I'll share your email address if John, is that way you guys can coordinate offline.
Sure.
Okay. No, that's fine.
Anytime.
All right. As long as it's not raining, we'll be there.
Got it.
Even if it's raining, we'll be there.
All right. We'll have a tea party.
I'm usually out walking the dogs about 7 o'clock in the morning. So
We're up early. The children don't really sleep, so
no.
we're up early.
All right. Well, we'll get this expedited as quickly as we can.
We appreciate that. Thanks, everyone.
We need a second and a vote.
I'll second.
Okay. Any comments from the audience, or do we not have any audience now?
We still have an audience. If I didn't have anybody signed up, for those of you that are listening, if you do have a comment specific to this application, if you just want to raise your hand in the Zoom app.
My hand's raised, Marilyn.
Okay, Marilyn. Did you have any further comments?
No, I'm pleased that we're going to make a site visit. I think it's, I think we try to be really helpful, and I'm glad we're going to do it, and I'm glad we're going to do it soon. That's great.
Did you want to go on Saturday with Chris and John?
I'm going to, Saturday doesn't work. I'm going to see if possibly Friday will work, and Lee, I'll connect with you. We'll talk tomorrow, and we'll check our times.
Perfect. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
I think.
Well, let's call it to a vote then.
Need a second,
No, Aaron. Aaron
No,
did.
second. So all those in favor of tabling the application until further investigation can be made, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, the motion is carried, and we will be seeing you, Joe, on individually, I guess, on Friday and Saturday, or in 2 groups.
I look forward to meeting whomever I'm here to receive. So
Okay.
Thank you everyone for your time. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All the best.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is 725 Madison Avenue.
So
Aaron,
this is Marilyn. I'm going to obviously recuse myself. So I guess I'll
Right.
just get off the meeting, huh?
Yeah.
yeah, you're gonna have to
Yeah.
leave the meeting.
I'm leaving the meeting.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Be well.
Go get something to eat.
Goodbye. Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Okay, the next item is 725 Madison Avenue, the Women's Club of Albany in the Washington Park Historic District. And it's a restoration and construction of an ADA compliant ramp at the historic residence on Madison Avenue. So we don't have the architect here to speak to us about it. I did visit the site several months ago.
We do have a representative from the club to present.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, good.
So, Patty, if you want to introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the wonderful work you do for the city of Albany, and it's been quite exciting and interesting to watch you do some of your work tonight. And I participate in a number of town board meetings in the town of Bethlehem, so I appreciate all of the work that I know it's not the pay while you're all here doing what you do. So thank you very much. I personally have been a member of the Women's Club for the past 18 years. And we had a rebirth of the organization in the early 2000s. And although you see a building here that is desperately in need of repair, we are an organization that in the early 2000s had approximately 3 remaining active members who were in their mid-90s, trying to keep the building and the organization going. And as we began since 2002 to slowly reorganize the membership, we have done some significant projects on the building. It doesn't really show here, but from 2010 to 2015, we did some major renovation and restoration on the West Bay. And we have known that we needed to do some porch work, and it has become more severe over the last few years. And we've also done some major internal renovations, We've restored plaster and painting. We've completely renovated the second floor ballroom, and we are renovating our caretaker's apartment. Since that rebirth and those projects, we've had a number of member item sponsors doing some of the work, including the previous work on the West Bay completed in 2015. Since 2015, we have been doing major fundraising to try to not only restore the damage that you see in figure 2 on the south porch, but to also create a handicapped accessibility with, although we're grandfathered, was very important to the membership. We have never had staff. We have always been a member-only organization. And so I think we've done wonderful work. Preservation Architecture has been our preferred provider since the work in 2010. And in 2009, did a major study for us on all the projects that we need to do, including some major slate repair work. So that's a little bit of an introduction. If you look at the documents that have been provided, Aaron, can you show the different concept studies for the accessibility ramp, which has been approved by Parks. Parks was a sponsor of our grant ending in 2015. So there is a covenant on our deed with Parks. So they must oversee, as you do, any kind of major work like this for us. Parks has approved Design Concept 2020. We have considered other design concepts that you can see on the layout and the materials you've been provided. One was originally a northern ramping from the front along the east side, exiting on the north. That would have not only extended the 8.5 feet you see now in the Concept 2020 we're presenting this evening, but that would extend that by an even additional 5 feet, going back into a limited walkway area, a limited parking area, and creating some accessibility concerns with that 2018 design. I'd also like to point out that this 2020 concept was presented to and seen by one of your former colleagues, at least some of you, Rich Nicholson. So back to that northern design. So we also looked, as you can see in one of the ramps here, we looked at a west design, but that was more obtrusive to the front of the actual building and the design and the beautiful facade that we have. This building was owned by one of the Stiefel brothers. If you go to the building, one building to the east, it's also a matching building, and you can see, although it would not currently meet code, that building has an accessibility ramp that has completely impacted on the facade of the front of the building. I'm happy that the accessibility exists, but we're trying not to do that. So except for entering from the front, and I can speak a little bit to why, if you have questions about that, and why it's not exiting to the east, but the particular footprint of this ramp will be, except for the addition of that 8 feet 5 inches heading toward the north to extend the footprint of the existing side porch, it would pretty much fit in the entire footprint of the porch, preserve the frontage, preserve the facade. And look at, isn't that just an incredibly beautiful building? So I am also the past president and the most recent treasurer of the organization. So I do have an in-depth understanding and manage the grant with preservation, architecture, and landmark consulting during the 2010 to 2015 grant. So I can't tell you I can answer all the questions. I am definitely not an architect, but I've probably done enough talking. If there's anything you'd like to know, I will do my best to answer all of your questions.
I think the proposal meets the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation. With that said, this is the least obtrusive solution to the accessible handicap accessibility issue. I hope that the wall separating the ramp from the driveway, adjacent driveway, at least most of the existing brickwork, stonework, coping stones, and the foundation stone be reused as much as possible.
They will be reused or replaced with matching stone and rebuilt to the current standard.
Great.
All of the
and
brickwork and stonework you just referenced.
Okay, and if you have any, if there's a need for any new yellow brick and coping stones and foundation stones, that it matches the existing masonry as close as possible.
That has all already been researched by our architect. I don't know the name of that right now because we'd actually officially, once you approve this, we'd have to go out to bid and get the bids in to do the work. This is a two-phase project. Based upon an assembly member item and a DASNY grant, we can do the deeply necessary restoration work, which includes all of the brickwork on the south porch where you see the stabilization equipment there and the serious degradation of the pillars. But, and the second phase of that, after several attempts since 2015, we have received an award from Parks to do the accessibility ramp, but we have not yet had a signed contract. And because it's two different state funding sources, and I am overseeing both of those as the organization's building committee chairperson, we have to treat these as two separate grant managements. So it's two separate bidding processes.
Yeah. I don't know about anybody else, but I feel the project is worthy to be approved. I think it's a beautiful building. Number one, you know, I've always admired the architecture, and like I said, the method of gaining accessibility is basically hidden. I mean, it's you know, you really can't tell what's going on, other than the opening at the corner of the wall there.
No, it's well integrated into the existing configuration of the house, so it's
it is.
And I've been there. I've been to events there, and it's a very handsome building, and it's really encouraging to see this project moving forward, because the porch has been in pretty dire straits for a while now. So moving forward with this is really encouraging. I think, Lee, to your point about matching material, there is the porch extension, about 8 foot 8 inches of expansion for that intermediate landing. And there is a recess in the brickwork to denote the change from existing to, or historic to, new construction. So certainly there's an opportunity there if there is a slight change in brick coloration to note that clearly. No, I think it's a good-looking project, and really don't have much more to offer. Is it the intent to exercise the 3 alternates that have been identified in the documents?
Our request is to approve the Concept 2020 raised landing switchback within the porch footprint design with an easterly exit. Sorry, southerly exit.
Right.
The landing that you see on the design that's before you right now.
And you said this has been approved by SHPO already? Okay.
Yes, it has. And SHPO, if you look on the designs you've been provided, had also been the source of the alternate B and alternate C suggestions, including the south exit. And although the pictures that you have before you tonight, we maintain beautiful gardens in 3 seasons of the year. And what SHPO is also recommending is that maybe we do, and some of this is going to be cost defining, but that we extend the walkway to the right as you're approaching the house, to the right with a concrete paving and possibly some matching piers that match the piers above on the porch that would surround the egress of the landing. But they're alternates at this time because we have to get the bids out, but it would still be beautifully done and maintaining the integrity of the neighborhood and the building.
It's extremely thoughtful and well designed. And a great representation, Patty.
Thank you, Chris.
Well, I make a motion that we approve the proposed construction as is.
So moved.
Since you are asking for approval for the ramp and the south exit ramp and the restoration work on the building, I would suggest that we also approve the alternate B and alternate C portions of the design, so that if that does come to pass and it's affordable, that the applicant does not have to return to the commission and seek approval for that additional work.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Second that.
Any other discussion from members of the commission?
Before I vote, I want to point out that I was instrumental in giving the member item as a member of the assembly for the improvements on the west bay and the small bathroom that was put underneath it, and restoring the area around the windows there. And that was a long time ago. And I left office in the last day of 2012. So I intend to vote in favor of this, and would point out that I think people should know that, but I don't believe it's subject to any conflict of interest.
And that, may I? You're in the middle of a vote.
Please. No, go ahead.
Thank you, Jack. Your support and your efforts in support of the Women's Club has always been greatly appreciated. And we had an accessibility bathroom because of that member item and matching funds, but we just couldn't get the accessibility into the building. But you could use the bathroom, and that's always been. So you were a forerunner in the accessibility aspect of this, and I wasn't sure if I should mention that. I wasn't trying to be improper, but I, the member items have been so important to us, and it also assisted us in the West Bay restoration, and you've seen how beautiful and substantial. Yep. I wish I had a picture to show you of that staircase to those who haven't been in the building. I offer the commission members a tour anytime if you'd like to meet me and gather there, and I will certainly bring our current president along as well. She would be more than happy to have you all there. Her name is Patty Kopak. We've just sworn in the newest president in early July.
Very good.
Very good.
Very good. Very
I
good.
will call this motion to a vote. All those in favor?
John, we do have one.
Oops, okay.
Give me 1 second. Oops. Leah, would you
Yes.
like to speak? If you could just
Yes.
state your name.
This is Leah Goldie from the Pine Hills Neighborhood Association. I'm co-chair of the Zoning and Code Enforcement Committee, and the Neighborhood Association has been a strong supporter of the porch restoration at the Women's Club for many years, and we fully support the applicant and the application, and that's it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, Aaron, before I?
That is it.
Okay. I will call this to a vote then. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And opposed? Okay, we have 5 voting members here, so I don't see Chris. Chris is still on, isn't he?
Oh no.
He disappeared when we got Leah.
Oh, hold on.
We need Chris's vote.
Yes.
He did second the motion.
He did.
Well, that's encouraging. He didn't sign off, did he?
I didn't see him. Let's see. Sorry, technology has not been our friend tonight.
There hasn't been any cats walk across the screen yet. Mine included.
Give me 1 second. Let me call him.
Okay.
We need him for a quorum, right?
Yes. Yeah, we can't conclude until we get his vote. And we can't call Marilyn back to vote, so.
Do you mind if I bow out? I already voted.
Aaron's saying you can't.
You have to wait, Lee. Sorry.
All right, no problem.
Give me 1 second. He said his computer.
Listen, we got Myers, Pinckney, Hacker, Tobin. Who else? Oh, I didn't put myself in there.
I just have a rambunctious dog.
I'm going to call him and put him on speaker and then have him retake the vote, just so that we're not, there shouldn't be any issue, but.
Hello, Aaron.
Hi, Chris.
I don't know how that happened, but my computer went out. Bad timing.
Okay.
I voted approved as proposed.
Okay, we're gonna recall it. Can everybody hear him?
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, I'll call it to a vote then. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, we have a 5-0 vote and the motion is carried. So,
all right.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to present the project on behalf of our architect.
Congratulations. Quite sure it'll be a great job.
Watch out for skateboarders, though. They have a tendency to occupy ramps.
Yes.
All
All right, I'm going to sign off.
Aaron, are there any other items to come before the commission?
No.
All right, all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
We have a motion and all
Oh, I move to adjourn.
that? Okay,
Second.
second, all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.